Hey, it's your girl, national best-selling author Kim Brooks, on another episode of Kicking It with Kim Brooks Review Edition. Man, we about to review this past reunion for Ready to Love Season 2. Now, I don't know if y'all saw Season 1, but Season 2 is way more drama and craziness. So, first I want to start out by saying that everybody looks so beautiful. I love the reunion specials. Everybody looks so nice in their dresses and suits and things like that. So, yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so y'all know that I am a singles author and I speak from a Christian perspective. So, I just want to give some insight regarding what I saw on Ready to Love, just relationship insight and also some Christian insight as well. So let's get into it. All right. Let's start with a lighter one. Ashima and Darren. I'm happy for them. Now, one of the main reasons I believe they're so successful is the element of emotional stability that Darren has, and he compliments Ashima because I believe Ashima is beautiful, professional. I know she's a comedian, but like he said in the earlier episodes, she has a serious side, she has a feminine side, and it's kind of like she follows his lead as far as he compliments her well, where she may feel like antsy, or like, for example, I give the scene where she admitted to having trust issues, and because of that she felt like she didn't want to get played, and that's why she was questioning him. And he initially was taking it personally, like, man, this lady questioning my integrity. I told her I don't want to be a cheater, I don't want to be like my dad, and she's still questioning me. But then once she opened up and said it's because she just doesn't want to get played, then he was like, oh, he gave her a hug because he's like, okay, I can accept that, because that's the reason. And she just melted in his arms. And I love how they compliment one another because they communicate so well till they get to a point of understanding. And that's the key to communication, is not to be right. So many people, they want to communicate to be right. They want people to get on their side. They want to get allies. You get your girlfriends together. Girl, he said that. Or why did he say that? No, communication in relationships should be about the two people with the goal of seeking understanding, not necessarily who's right and who's wrong. Because when you think about it, everybody has different perspectives. They have different backgrounds. They're coming from different places. So you really have to communicate till you get to that place of understanding. And that's what Ashima and Darren did well. When they had disagreements, they talked about it until they got to a place of understanding. And with the emotional stability piece, there's a book called Date or Soulmate. And it's a great book. I'll put the link in the description, because that book talks about one of the main goals, or one of the main ways to have a successful marriage, is you want both parties to be emotionally stable, and also you want to have adaptability and acceptance. And that's something that they brought up, Darren and Ashima, during the reunion, was the whole point of accepting one another. Yes, they have different lifestyles. She's a comedian. He owns a fitness gym. He's into health and wellness. She's kind of like, hey, I'm going to just eat what I like. But they accept each other, and they don't try to change each other or make one person be more like them. If you want to date someone that's more like you, then date someone that's more like you. Don't date someone that's not like you and then try to change the other person, because then that's where bitterness could come in, because the other person may not want to be changed. So, I mean, a lot of times, and let me dig deeper with that. A lot of times we lead with chemistry, we lead with sexual attraction, and we say, okay, I like that person, and then all the sparks are flying. And then we lead with attraction, with chemicals and chemistry, and then we get to know the person. And then as we get to know the person, we find out, oh, well, they're vegan and I'm not, and I want someone vegan. Whereas before you are led and go straight into the chemistry, I mean, some people, they sleep with people before they even know people. And y'all know me, I promote abstinence till marriage. I promote celibacy. And there are several reasons for that, not just from a spiritual standpoint, but also from a practical standpoint. Because you don't want to just sleep with somebody that you don't even know. You don't even know if they're going to be there for the long haul. I mean, you're giving yourself away to somebody that's unworthy. I mean, it's just so many reasons. But back to the whole, when you lead with sexual attraction and then you go and whether you have sex or whether you just all in the clouds, you know, a lot of times people lead heart first, and then they get to know the person, and then they have to back up because you've gone so fast in a relationship. You got to back up once you find out that this person may not be who you thought they were. Or you lead with attraction, and there's some obvious things that you don't see eye to eye on, and I'm talking about non-negotiable things, values type things. And that's the thing. You want to have your non-negotiables. If you want to date someone and you want them to not be someone who argues, well, the minute they start arguing and talking all crazy and just wilding out, then that lets you know, oh, they're breaking my non-negotiable. But what so many people do, they overlook non-negotiables, and then they end up frustrated and upset, especially if it happens over and over again, and then now you're not happy in the relationship. So that's why I'm so excited with Darren and Ashima, because they have great communication, they have emotional stability, and they accept each other. And those are keys to a successful relationship and a successful marriage. So that's awesome. And even Ashima, at the last episode, she was talking about the dogs. I love how she say the dogs. I don't know about them dogs, Darren. She's so cute. But when they were talking about the dog, she said eventually she wanted to compromise. She was like, you know, I may even be able to do something with Jack and Jill. So even she was willing to compromise with that. And there's a difference between compromising, like, it's okay to compromise negotiables. I'm sure Ashima, I'm not sure or not. I mean, as far as like, I don't know whether or not she had on her list of negotiables and non-negotiables, if one of her things was the man I'm dating must not have a dog. I don't know if that's one of her things. But let's say it's not. Let's say her non-negotiable is not the fact that the man have a dog. So if that's not a non-negotiable, then it's a negotiable. And negotiables are up for compromise. It's the non-negotiables that you run into that are not up for compromise, and those are the things that you look at and you say to yourself, do I want to date this person because this person is violating one of my non-negotiables? So the fact that Ashima was willing to compromise with Darren regarding the dogs, that for her, it may have been a negotiable. So I believe they're going to have a successful relationship. I believe it's going to go far. That's just my take on it. Because what I like about Darren is he listens. That's another key. He listens to Ashima. Even though, you know, when she was mentioning certain things and he was like, you got trust issues, they would talk it out. They would be having dinner together and she would express her feelings. She would be open and honest, and he would listen and he would respond. So he was not checked out with Ashima. Sometimes in relationships, you're communicating and then one person checks out and they don't hear you. But see, with Darren, he hears her, he listens to her, he gives her reassurance. Even throughout the season, he gave her reassurance. You know, he was like, you've been my number one from day one. And I think they're just going to do great. So, all right. So, Darren and Ashima. Now, there was some cute little plot twists in that episode, in the part 1 of the reunion with Terrell and Nina. Okay. Now, Nina, I like how she admitted to having a lot of internal challenges, even on the show, as far as feeling like she may not have been ready to date or receive the man that, you know, that's for her. She did. You could tell she had a lot of issues going on. You could tell she's a very emotional person. She cries a lot. But I believe it's because of the pain that she experienced. She may not be totally healed, especially when she was describing in that scene with Brett about how she didn't expect the father of her child to bail on her. I mean, that's devastating. I can't even imagine. Someone that you thought would be there, it just bails on you regarding the life of a human being and leaves you alone to fend for yourself and raising another human being. I mean, that can be very painful. So I pray that she does the inner work necessary to continue to heal. Because while it was cool that Tommy kind of encouraged her and Terrell to, you know, sit together during the reunion, and he got them to admit that they were interested in each other, and it was so sweet when they hugged. I cried. I thought that was so sweet, because the reason I cried was when Tommy was asking Terrell, you know, would you be willing to have patience with her because she's going through a lot? And you know, because y'all talked about it, y'all talked outside of the show, so you know. And when Terrell said yes, and he was so sincere sounding, like he's willing to wait for her to go through the process of whatever she needs to go through. He's willing to be there for her. And guess what? Did you guys hear when he hugged her during the reunion? He said, I got your back. That was real low, but if you play it back, he says to Nina, I got your back. And that's what most people want in life. They want to know somebody has their back, you know. And that's what I like about Terrell, because when it comes from a spiritual standpoint, the Word of God says in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, that whole chapter is about love. And the very first thing that love is patient. And it talks about long suffering. And that's a fruit of the Spirit. And so for Terrell to be willing to step up to the plate and let Nina know that I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to, however long it takes. I think you're a beautiful woman. You can tell he values her. I mean, it's more than just physical. He really, really values her and has the ability to cherish her. That's why I always tell my ladies inside our group on Facebook, Single, Saved, and Celibate with Kim Brooks. It's a private group. I always let them know you don't want to just have someone that wants you physically. You want someone who also cherishes you and values you. That's somebody that'll be willing to fight for you. You know, that's somebody that doesn't look at you as just an option, you know. And that's what Terrell was showing towards Nina, that he'd be willing to fight for her, and he's willing to wait for her and be patient with her. And that's beautiful. So as far as Nina, I just pray that she does the necessary inner work to get to that place of healing, so she don't lose that good man. You don't want to, you know, be emotional and crying every 5 minutes, and then he, you know, gets scared and run off. And I don't think he would. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, ideally, you want to actually wait till you get in a serious relationship. You want to be healed first, because you don't want the person that you're in a relationship with to feel the backlash from your healing process, you know. But in this case, since he's willing to be patient, I just pray that she uses this time to do the inner work, whether it's going to therapy, talking it out, journaling, meditating, doing exercises on getting rid of limited beliefs, speaking affirmations over herself, telling herself in the mirror, I am beautiful, I am worthy and capable of faithful love. I am loved by God. I am wonderfully and fearfully made. I am beautiful. I am worthy. I am good enough. I am enough. She has to literally say stuff like that in the mirror to herself every single day. And she has to speak to therapists, and she has to do the work. And it could take years. I did the work. The work is really a journey towards self-love, because when you've been violated, then it chinks at your armor where you don't feel like you have self-love for yourself because you've been violated. I've been doing the work. It's been 2 years. I had to do the work for 2 years. The affirmations I'm talking about, the inner work, speaking. When my mom passed and I broke my femur in the same year in 2015, I had to speak to a therapist. So you have to do whatever is necessary to get that healing. You know, meditate on the Word of God. Know that God heals you. Allow Him to heal your broken heart. You know, you have to do that. So I pray that Nina does that inner work that she definitely needs to do. And it's a day-by-day thing, but she has to be intentional about it. Passage of time doesn't always equal healing. If you're not doing anything, you have to do the work. So But I'm happy for them. All right. Let's see who we're gonna talk about next. Kimber and Jimmy. Let's talk about them, and then we'll talk about the craziness. Okay. I'm so happy Kimber and Jimmy are back together. I'm so happy they're back together because y'all know in my other review videos, I was team Kimber and Jimmy all the way. So I'm so happy. I mean, they're both a beautiful young couple, both in the same industry, and they just seem like they have really good hearts. They just as far as the whole communication, they definitely got to work on that. So what I want to share for Kimber and Jimmy, in case they ever get a hold of this video, and let's say they're still together, I want to share some tips that would ensure they have a successful relationship, because there are some concerns there where it could go either way. All right, so for the reunion, at first when they had Kimber and Jimmy, and they were kind of like showing the clips from before, and Jimmy was talking about, oh, I gotta see somebody get mad. Now that does not, Jimmy, that don't mean you provoke a person to get mad. Even the Bible talks about, it speaks against provoking people. You don't want to provoke people to get mad at you. That's like a easy way out, a quick cop out to kind of. And I think, unfortunately, when you get over 35 and you still dating, it's like you look for cop-outs to find something wrong in the other person. Because you just want to get out of it quick. Because you want to guard your heart to the point where you don't even want to give them a chance. Oh, I knew it. And that's what he said when you go back in the previous episodes, when they were by the pool, and when he was like, I want to see your big man. And then she just walked off, and he was like, I knew it. She's still with her ex. It's kind of like, in the back of his mind, he had that insecurity, because he did say, oh, it's been months that you haven't talked to him. Oh, you still got feelings for him. So that was in the back of his mind. And then when she got, quote unquote, big mad, it was like, for him, confirmation. But he was already feeling that way. It was like he wanted an excuse to cop out because he didn't want to be all in. A lot of times we look for an excuse to bail out quickly so we don't get hurt. It's a defense mechanism. And that's the thing with Jimmy. He has his guard up so much that he has all these defense mechanisms that I believe he convinced himself that they make sense. But thankfully, on the reunion special, they let him know, no, Jimmy, you don't want to just provoke people to get mad at you. That's not a good thing. Because he was like, I do that all the time. Well, maybe if you do something and it keeps not working, maybe you shouldn't do it anymore. So I'm glad other people stood up and was like, no, that's not how you treat anybody. That's not how you should do it. And I believe that he had some time to reflect. During the reunion, you saw the clip where Kimber and Jimmy were interacting, and he was kind of like getting emotional, like, man, I normally have a woman to kind of calm me down. I believe that was his come to Jesus moment, where he got to reflect and think to himself, okay, I want a woman. I don't have a woman. Am I willing to do what's necessary to get a woman? Because a lot of times we claim to want a man or we want a woman, but we're not willing to put in the work necessary to get it. And the work is about doing what's required, what the other person requires of you, which in most cases is reasonable. Wanting someone to listen to you is reasonable. Wanting someone to be considerate of your feelings is reasonable. But the thing is, a lot of times when you've been single so long, you're so used to just thinking about yourself and how you feel that you don't always consider the other person or how your words or actions may affect the other person. So you're doing this and you find yourself making the same mistakes, having the same relationships be ending, all early. And at the end of the day, you're still left with nothing. You want a relationship, but you still going in circles because you still keep making the same mistakes, ending up with nothing. So I believe for Jimmy, that was his come to Jesus moment when he realized, I want a woman. And Kimber is a good woman. She didn't do anything wrong to me. I messed up. So the light bulb came on for him where he's like, I want a woman. So then next thing you know, he flipped the script. He like, hey queen, call her queen after he just called her crazy. And that's nothing. That's why he called her crazy at first, but then by the end he called her a queen. And that's the thing, Jimmy. Jimmy is a salesperson. They're in sales. With sales, you know how your words affect. And so that's why a key to success for Jimmy is he will have to be intentional about being consistent every time with how he treats his woman, how he speaks to his woman. You can't just shut it on and off, okay? He knows how to say the right thing. We know he knows because he did it when he apologized. He was sincere. He was honest. He knew what he did wrong. Before he was like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm apologizing for. Why should I even apologize? That was all defense. Guard up. I don't want to look like the bad guy. I don't want to look like I'm a punk. That's just pride, defense, guard up. But like Kimber said, once he apologized, he finally opened up and let the guard down. And he's going to have to be consistent with that. That can't be just a one-time thing on a reunion show so I can look good and look like the good guy, not the bad guy. No, that's going to have to be a consistent thing for Jimmy. And he may need a lot of practice with that. He may have to continue to communicate with this woman and even ask her, how do you feel about that? And okay, so speaking of that, put a pin there because I want to go to Kimber. Now, Kimber, I love Kimber. Y'all know I love Kimber. I think she's a beautiful woman. And I believe she's very professional. She's very mature for her age. And that's the other thing. Jimmy, they say men in general are, they mature 10 years younger or less than women. As far as like if they're the same, if two people are the same age, a man matures 10 years younger or less than. So not every, I wouldn't say across the board, because I know that there are some mature men that are older and there are some mature men that are younger. There's some immature men that are older. There's some immature men that are younger. In Jimmy's case, he does have to work on his maturity. And maturity is, like I was saying earlier, about responding just because you just want to say something or you just want to got your guard up, you got your defenses up. Oh, she crazy. Deflecting, labeling. In all relationships, stay away from labeling. Don't call somebody crazy, especially for guys. Y'all be done slept with somebody, done had 5 kids with her, and then at the end of the day, if it don't work out, she was crazy. Okay, but what does that say about you? You laid with her and had all these kids by her. So does that make you crazy? So let's stop calling people crazy. Let's stop labeling people, especially if it's somebody you call yourself being interested in, because words you cannot take back. You can't take back your words. Like the scripture says, out of the mouth, the heart speaks. So if something's in your heart and you're talking crazy, the person is not going to forget. So you don't want to put that out in the atmosphere. You don't want to put mean labels. You don't want to call names. I mean, that's immature. Calling people names is immature. Like I talked about before with Ashima and Darren, their goal of communication is not to call names, not to make one feel smarter over the other or better over the other, but their goal is understanding. So you communicate to get to that place of understanding. That's maturity. Immaturity is communicating, and once you don't get your way in a communication, you resort to calling names. That's immaturity. So that's something that Jimmy will definitely have to work on, is just gaining that maturity. I believe he can, as he pays attention to his words and how his words affect others. Now, Kimber, I believe one of the main things she's going to have to do, she's a very smart woman. She's a professional woman. She knows how to communicate. She communicates very well. I like how on the reunion, and y'all, it's getting dark, but I'm having fun. I'm still going. On the reunion, when she was talking to Jimmy, she was like, you didn't take accountability then and you're not taking accountability now. That was a true statement. However, while that was a true statement, you want to be careful how you speak to certain men, especially men like that, because sometimes for them, logical will not always get the result that you're looking for. She was looking for him to logically respond. She was looking for the light bulb to come on and say, you're right. I'm not taking accountability. You're so right. Jimmy's not going to give you that. Jimmy's looking at how Jimmy's looking in front of other people. So going forward, Kimber, when you communicate to men, whether it's men you're dating, whether it's Jimmy or whoever it is, instead of letting them know about themselves in a logical way, which is true, let them know how what they're communicating or what they're doing, how it makes you feel. Jimmy, when you did that, when you said that, I felt violated. I felt trust was breached. Because what that does, it puts the responsibility on him, on the man, to now be accountable for how you feel. Because in a relationship, you want to make sure your partner, I have to cut the light on, feels safe, feels protected, feels loved, feels cherished, feels understood. So instead of, okay, because when you speak to a man from a standpoint of all logic, oh, you wasn't taking accountability then, you ain't taking it now. That's logic, and it's true. But it's also masculine. And when a man hears that, it's almost like making them want to challenge, because it's like that masculine energy. But when you come from a place of, when you said that, it made me feel this way, then that's more feminine. It's softer. And that, like I said, then that way he's compelled to have to respond in a way based on how he made you feel, because that's truth. How someone feels is truth. You know, it's their truth though. And you want to make sure the person you're dating is considerate of how you feel. And that's another thing. A lot of times when you're dating, if someone, you tell them you feel a certain way about something and they don't respond and they don't even act like they care, that's a red flag. You don't want to be with someone who doesn't consider your feelings. So that was the one main thing for Kimber, is just in communication, going forward with men, whether it's Jimmy or whoever. Make sure you're communicating from that feminine place, that non-confrontational place, even though you may be right, even though, I mean, yeah, but at the end of the day, you want the result of peace and understanding. You want a resolution and not just, you know, the right and wrong. You steer away from the whole right and wrong, because at the end of the day, people want to be understood. So, but if they both do that, and if they're both consistent, even if they may need counseling, or, you know, if they're open to that, I think they'll be fine. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Oh, Lord, let's talk about Tandy and Mario and Riva. What in the world? Okay. Oh, let's get into this. Drama. Now, the thing with Tandy, y'all know I love me some Tandy. Detroit. I believe that she sincerely didn't know what was going on during that show, as far as not knowing in advance that Mario was dating Riva. Because it was interesting how during the reunion, Tandy could sense something wasn't right. Now, in the beginning, when, you know, they would sit next to each other, and he was like, oh, you look gorgeous. And she was like, oh, thank you. And then he said, my loss. And then she's like, well, it doesn't have to be. And we just watching. We're like, what do you mean my loss? Oh, Lord, what happened? Well, I mean, of course, later we found out what that was. But isn't that something, how guys, they still be wanting to flirt? You know, my loss. You sit up here, broke up with the girl, got with her friend. And we're going to talk about the whole friend versus associates thing, too. We're going to talk about it a little bit here, but I think I'm going to do a whole separate video about that whole dynamic, friend versus associate. But yeah, so when they were sitting next to each other, he's like, my loss. But you could tell though that Tandy really was into Mario. she liked Mario. It wasn't just physical for Tandy. She really liked him as a man. She was interested in him. She was willing to go the extra mile necessary to make it work. Now, I just want to speak on their relationship based on what we saw on the show. I mean, of course, the show was edited, cut, and spliced, so we kind of only saw a story as they wanted to tell it. But just with Mario, notice how, okay, so the thing with him, a lot of people saying he was controlling. Now, the thing with Mario is a lot of guys that are controlling and you haven't seen their controlling side yet, or they saw, I mean, she may have saw it a little bit when he was kind of like, you know, they were by the pool and he was trying to calm her down or whatever. And that was subtle though. That wasn't, I don't think that was his full controlling mode. But the sweet gesture of him giving her the ring, they were in the pottery room and he made her the ceramic ring. And then the sweet gesture of him getting the necklace for the ring on the last episode when he's like, this is a sign of our commitment, and put it on a necklace and put it around her neck. So sweet. But guess what? That was all controlling. That was his way, and this is so sad because I don't want to discourage any man from giving a woman a gift. I'm all for it. I think it's beautiful. But when you have ulterior motives and when you do something as shady as Mario did, then unfortunately, looking back, it makes sense. When he gave the ring and he put it around her neck to Tandy, when he gave the ring and he put it, no, hey, yep, it is. Thank you. All right, I'm out here. Bye. Okay, yeah, it is getting late. Okay, so when he gave the ring, okay, y'all, we got to get into this. When he gave the ring, one would think it was just a nice gesture, but really, it was his way of controlling Tandy. It was his way of getting her to really fall for him. And once she really fell for him, he knew that she could be in a place where she's more into him. He could do whatever he wanted with her, get whatever he wanted from her, because she was all into him, because he gave all these nice gifts and all these signs of commitment and all these different things. And it was all for him to get what he wanted from Tandy. And someone had mentioned, when I had put on another video, I put on the comments, I said, I'm going to do this review video. Somebody's like, please talk about the fact that Tandy gave it up to Mario and she shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. Now, y'all know I promote celibacy till marriage, and this is another reason why. I'm not sure how much time passed from the time of the show to the reunion, how long they were together. I think it was a few months. I'm not sure, but either way, it wasn't that long. And Tandy slept with Mario, or at least she kind of insinuated it during the show. And, you know, she kept calling Reva sloppy seconds, things like that. So she slept with Mario under the guise of him being committed to her and they being committed to each other. This is one of the challenges, women of God, of giving it up too soon, and even giving it up before marriage. Marriage is the ultimate commitment. I know we talk about on Ready to Love, the goal is to find love, and Tommy's like, okay, at the end of the show, are y'all willing to commit with each other? We like to throw the C word around. We commit, we commit, we commit. But guess what? Mario committed to Tandy at the end of the show. But what did his commitment mean? Nothing. And guess what? There was no real ring on her finger. She was not his wife. And so to Mario, he had every right to do what he did because he was looking out for number one, himself. So while he was dating Tandy and they're going out of town, I read somewhere it said they went to Puerto Rico. I don't know if they went to Puerto Rico, but somewhere I read they were all going out of town and Tandy was all in 500%. And while they're doing all this, he's still keeping in contact with Reva and ultimately getting with Reva. And that's all under the so-called guise of commitment. So that's why I'm saying it's fake. That's not commitment. So that's why it's important to be abstinent or celibate till marriage, because marriage is the only true commitment. You've given yourself up to this man for him to just treat you like crap. Like, I mean, that was crap. On the reunion show, embarrassing you. And then Reva talking about the best woman won. What kind of crazy? Now, that's something else that I thought was a little disappointing. This season of the show, the women were more catty. They were more competitive. Last season, the women, they had a kumbaya moment. They were just doing things together, being a blessing, being there for each other. They were on the couch like waiting to excel. Remember when the girlfriends were on the couch waiting to excel? That's how the women were last season. But this season, oh no. Competition, cattiness, taking sides. Oh man, this season was something else. So yeah, that was disappointing. The whole women competing with each other. So yeah, so the Mario and Tandy, unfortunately, Mario disappointed me. I was disappointed with Mario, with how he acted, with how he did Tandy. He knew he was going to do that, but he didn't give her a heads up, obviously. And then when he went over to be with Reva, and Reva just over there like, yeah, I got, the best woman won. So you just have to not worry about that. So yeah, so God is good. He is faithful. And that's why, women of God, you don't want to give yourself away before marriage. It's not just for spiritual reasons. If you are a Christian, that is a basic tenet of Christianity, is, as we say, flee fornication. That's a basic tenet. It's not up for argument. It's not up for debate. It's just, it is what it is. Either you do it or you don't. And that's the spiritual reason. But then there are practical reasons as well. So you want to be mindful of those practical reasons. And one of them is God, I believe, has it in place to protect women from, and not just women and men. It's not just a rule just for women. And it's to protect, period. It's to protect your heart from being broken. It's to protect and to preserve you. So many things. So yeah, that, definitely wanted to bring that up. And then Reva, to be honest, to me, Reva didn't even add much to the show. The only time you saw Reva is her explaining herself to Mario why she's not opening up. I don't know if it was just me. Let me know in the comments if I missed something. The only time we saw Reva and Mario be close was in the pool. That one scene. But after that one scene, all the other scenes you saw Mario and Reva talking about, you just not opening up. I didn't see another date with them. I didn't see another one-on-one. And I really didn't get to know who she is as a person because, she was cool with Divine. But other than that, I wasn't surprised how she acted during the reunion because she just didn't bring much value to the whole show. And now the only value she's bringing is at the very end as a villain type character. I mean, I don't know if that's the reputation she wants to have, but you know, on TV you have the protagonist. It's kind of like writing books. You got the protagonist and you got the villain, and she ended up being a villain. So, and then the whole thing about we're not friends. There are levels of friendship. Everybody's not your best friend. Everybody's not your close friend. Everybody's not your good friend. But a basic friend? Come on now. You've known somebody for 5 years. You've been in the same circles, in pictures together, like Tandy said. Reva invited Tandy to go out of town for some program for their daughters. Whatever the case may be, those are things you do with a friend. An associate is more like a colleague. Someone that you might work like a co-worker, not someone you've been in association with as far as like circles, in same circles. But then Reva kept saying we just knew the same person, we just had a mutual friend. So your mutual friend is your friend, but she's not? Okay. So I'm glad at the end of the day, Tanya was like, I don't care either way. You don't have to be my friend. That's okay. But I'm going to do a separate video on the whole friendship versus associate dynamic and kind of break that down, especially as it pertains to women and how we kind of look at that, and to kind of give some more perspective to that. But yeah, so the reunion, it was good. It was definitely entertaining. Definitely entertaining. A lot of twists, a lot of plot twists, even in the reunion. And man, when Mario got up and went over to sit next to Reva and they kissed, that was horrible. That was horrible. That was horrible. That was on some next level stuff for Ready to Love. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, is it Ready to Love or ready to spread yourself around? Like, so that's pretty much all I have for my review of the reunion part 1. I'm going to do a review of part 2 because you know it's going to be good, because it's going to be talking about Divine, Alexis, and London, and Brent. So stay tuned for that. And then I'm also going to do the other video about Reva and Tandy and the whole friendship versus associate. All right, so that's pretty much it. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think of this review, stuff I said, or if you want to add additional insight. Let's talk about it. Let's kick it, because, man, that reunion special. All right, this is your girl Kimber signing off, and like I always say, be and stay encouraged.